Hi everyone, welcome back to the Velvet Lounge Life. And yes, I do have a special event here for you. And also, someone is going to get very lucky and they're going to be able to have a few of these special treasures that I made. Now, what I call them are Hardcase Twinchies. And the reason why is because they are in hard cases, which is to me, a bonus. One, it protects your artwork. Number two, you can use them in many different ways. You can even turn them into magnets if you wanted to by simply adding a magnet to the back of them. There's a lot of diversity with these, as well as they're almost like little moments in time. I don't want to call them a picture frame, but I guess you could kind of use them like a picture frame if you wanted to, and then just embellish away from there. So yes, I've added a few of my favorite little friends here, some buttons to sort of just set it off a little bit for you. And get that big beauty red one in there a little bit at least. And so what I'm going to do is simply go over how I made these. I'm not going to go over every minute detail of how to make them. I have a video that I made about that already, and I will attach it to the description and the comments down below of this video. Also, something I would like to address and thank you to the probably like, I want to say it was like four or five dozen people have told me recently that they cannot find the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. Thank you for making me aware of that, because I did not know that. When I create videos, I have a different view than when you guys see the finished product. And also when you look at the channel, I have like the creator's view and you guys have the subscriber's view. And obviously to me, that's the most important view. That's why I make these videos, is to share with you guys and make you, hopefully want to become part of our community here. And you can't do that if you can't find the damn subscribe button. Thank you, YouTube. So I sent YouTube a work request, I guess I would call it, to see if they will fix this or can fix this. And if not, then I have another way that I can contact them and actually speak to, through chat or either a phone call, a representative that hopefully can help me resolve that issue. That answers so many questions as to, like, people are like, you should have 100,000 plus viewers by now, etc. But now we know why that did not happen. But I'm just happy that you guys that can get here are here. So thank you so much for being around and sticking around. That's more important. And watching these videos for at least 15 minutes or more, commenting, thumbs upping, all of that counts. So let's move on with this. So I have, as you can see, a few Halloween themed Twinchies in here. Purposely added because we are in the beauty season, as I call it, the harvest season. So yes, makes sense that they would make a debut. However, in my previous video, you will also see some different designs, obviously, that I want to say there maybe was 2 or 3 that were Halloween themed in there as well. And if you guys want just a Halloween themed video, please let me know. When it comes to junk journals, I have a Halloween themed junk journal that I add to every season. I have another one which I named the Green Poison, which is also more of a spooky themed. And of course, Twinchies. So what is a Twinchie? A Twinchie is basically I believe it's 1 inch by 1 inch or 2 inch by 2 inch little creation. I've made them, of course, sort of the traditional way, but you guys know me. Mostly I like to work non-traditionally so that I can show that you can not so that you don't become bored, and also to show that you can do things that are individualized versus copying what other people do. So whatever you do, stay tuned throughout this whole video because I am going to show you some other Twinchies that look nothing like this. So here we have one that I made using Trader Joe's. Has a, I think it's a quarterly magazine that they put out, and it's simply advertising their various products with recipes and things like that in it. And it always has some amazing graphics, you guys. You have got to start getting those Trader Joe's little magazines. They're free at the store. Don't take too many, otherwise that'll ruin it for everyone. Just take one or two, that's enough. And also their paper bags, as you know, if you shop there, amazing, amazing graphics. But this pumpkin is one of the graphics. I cut it out. And yes, when you're cutting, you're using teeny tiny scissors like this. I have several different types of tiny scissors that I use for cutting things out because some of the things are just, you know, so small. Some that have, you know, these have pointier ends on them for cutting than others. Here's a really old antique pair. And so that's how I'm able to get like all in between those fine details, because when you're cutting things out, that is what matters. So this one, not only do we have the pumpkin in there, but I found this little heart in a children's book. Cut that out. This is a piece from Costume Jewelry, a charm bracelet, and it says "Just for You." And here, I actually, on the inside of the case, I wrote backwards the word "boo," and that's with an acrylic pen. Be scary, words that I cut out. On the in the background of this, I use this vellum like paper, and you can actually order that online. It can come pre-cut, or you can order it and cut it yourself to whatever size and shapes that you want. And so I sort of put that on the background, and then I put all of this stuff on top. These are those stick down gems. They come in a strip, and you just cut out however, whatever length you want, whatever shape you want. Obviously, these have little like pearlized beads in the center. You could cut those out if you wanted to. You could sort of like, most people use this, they just use it as a strip. And my point is that you can take it and mold it to whatever you want it to be. And then here we have Dear Mr. William Shakespeare. And if you guys recall, I made a box that was a junk journal box. And it was the first one I had ever seen online. Now there's a couple people who regularly make them. And I made my first one, I want to say it was like 3-4 years ago. There were 0. And so I have a Shakespeare themed box, and I wanted to make something to go with it since I haven't like made anything to add to it for a while. And inside of it, it does have a junk journal, etc. And I will attach that video for you guys as well because it's super duper interesting. And I think, I mean, I created it, but I think that it's a really excellent idea for old boxes and cool boxes that you don't know what to do with. And you're like, oh, I don't really need them. But then you turn them almost into a gift. Or obviously those that sell these things, I don't sell anything. But you could, you know, turn that into a thing as well. But this has an actual United States postage stamp. Yes, you guys, I do use real ephemera. And yes, I will alter it because I know there are people who are like, oh, you should never do that. Well, it depends. So this one I did alter by coloring it with some colored pencils and some watercolor markers just to give it more color and depth. Because, and I am going to move these closer so you guys can see them even better. Let me show you this one first, just so you can see the finished product. You can see that vellum paper is on the back, and then look, it's like a surprise because you also have some pretty graphics back there. And then here is William. And yes, I used a different version of stripped gems that you can actually, they have their own adhesive on the back, but obviously, as you can see, you could cut them into different sizes, shapes. This one is more long rectangular. That one is a little bit boxy rectangular. This is, once again, one of my favorite things, costume jewelry, which is, you know, deconstructed. And you can see I gave William some red cuffs, blue pillars, you know, just sort of highlighted the lettering. And once again, I use that vellum-like material. This is a different piece. It's Italian. Well, the writing on it, the script is written in Italian. Thought that was appropriate. And so here we have a Halloween themed Twinchie. And this one, Hardcase Twinchie, thank you very much, says no soliciting and has its spider coming down the side. That was really the inspiration for this piece. And I did use those micro tiny glass beads in there just to add, you know, some depth, some interest. Some of them jingle around a little bit. Most of them I did, you know, glue into place. I used some rod beads, you know, just to sort of as a highlight as well. And then the center, you can see, I made it so that you almost have to look into it to see the little scene with the tree and the moon in the background. And then we have our cute little ghost with his Halloween hat. So this is probably one of my favorites of my Halloween themed ones. And here is a beach. I just felt beachy for a moment. So we have a beach themed one here with a piece of metal up here. These are sort of like those book corners. And a shell. And yes, there are shells out there that are flat enough to use for this if you look for them. And I did recover the shell from the beach. And then there's some turquoise beads from a broken necklace. The word mine. And yeah, the background, once again, this one I used an old piece of paper from a book that I recovered. And so that's another idea. If you have like little bits and bobs from music sheets, old books, you know, you're like, but this paper is so aged and I really don't want to recycle it. Well, this is another thing that you can do with it. And this one, I just want to sort of feature different little metallic things. So, but then something that really inspired me was this little elfin creature. I don't know if you could see it well. Right here in the corner. Oops, right here in the corner. Sort of in a hammock. I'll turn it sideways. And so I decided, you know, that's a dream. He's dreaming, he or she, whatever it is. And what I use for this background is a piece of material. And the material has some sort of like sequence kind of stuff on it. And then I put it on top of this label. So, yep, you could layer. So I layered it. And the butterfly is a piece from, I believe it was a set. Like you buy a bunch of like craft metal bits and bobs, and it was one of them that you could use for jewelry or other things. The feather is from a broken set of earrings. The word dreams, obviously cut out from a magazine. So this one I was like experimenting with layering, and I think it came out pretty well, better than I expected. And here we have one that features this cute little doggy. And do you recognize this cute little doggy? You should, because he's on one of my postcards. And so I decided to cut up one. And that was one of the purposes of my postcards. I know people are starting to collect these, and I really appreciate that. So please subscribe to the channel, give these videos a thumb up, and also watch the videos, or just listen to them if you don't want to watch them. If you're busy, it's a great way to pass time or doing chores. But one of the purpose of the postcards was so that you could cut the items out that are on them and the words, and you can actually use them in your own projects. I have 3 different versions of my postcards now that are out there. It's kind of expensive to get these made, so, you know, I don't just like mail them out to people. Usually it's folks who, you know, are regularly supporting the channel by simply watching. I send them not only postcards, I send them buttons, I send them ephemera. Guess what? Some of you will be getting some of these Twinchies. So, let's go back to this though. So this one has a cute little dog in it. This star is actually a metal bead that had a red rhinestone in the center. I had to remove the rhinestone because I would not have been able to close the case with it on there. So alter the things that you use within these, totally fine. This is a blank button. It doesn't have any buttonholes on it. It has no shank on it. And I think it was probably something from a salesman's sample at some point. And they were just showing like, this is a button and then maybe you can choose your shank. I don't know. But I know that it doesn't have a shank on it of any type. And as you can see, 0 holes. So I decided it would look great in here, almost like a moon. And then I used some copper metallic thread just to sort of highlight around that corner and that vellum background, which is, you'll see what the design is on that. These 2 little hearts I actually cut from a clothing label, and then I colored them because they were just black and white, and they're tiny, you guys. You could see like my nail is next to that, and you can see how tiny these hearts are. So having those teeny tiny scissors to cut out fine details is kind of important if you want it to look neat and tidy. And as I said, I highlighted those using markers and me and my watercolor markers. But I also use just regular like markers for that. I think that's what I use for the yellow portion of it. And then here, the middle part comes from a greeting card, and I just wrote, it has an ampersand, and I used some of my fancy cutting scissors, and then, AKA scissors like this. And then I used a black marker to go around the edges so it didn't have like that white, freshly cut edge look to it, and I wrote the word love there, and then that was it. So that's what made up this one, and here is what that vellum paper looks like on the back. I know it says piano on it. I think I preserved the word piano a little bit right there. I was trying to, but I actually put quite a bit in that one. So we'll get to that one. Did we do we didn't do this one. So I nicknamed this one Attitude, and it's Once Upon a Time. We saw the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Brad Pitt and others. And so I do keep my movie tickets, and then what we do is, or what I do, I should say, is I make my husband give me his, of course, and and then what I do is keep them so that if I need cool wording, I can use that wording. And obviously, I just kept the Once Upon a Time portion of it. Here you see a pretty chunky rectangular rhinestone that's like this cool pink color. And here, these are 2 glass metal gems, the golden colored one, golden yellow, and the ruby red. And this lady and the words "be on YouTube" are actually from, guess what? One of my cards. I don't know if I have that card. Oh yeah, I do. So that's a cutout from one of my postcards that I made. So like I said, those postcards can come in handy. And obviously this entire background is from the postcard. So what I did is, once again, I layered. I put a piece of vellum music sheet paper on the back, and then I put this whole thing here. I put the Once Upon a Time, the gems, the rhinestone, all of that on top. And that's how I got her. Let's see what other, ooh, let's do William. Oh, we did William already. We'll do her now. I think this is it. She's next. So the next one, I saved this one for last because it was definitely one I experimented with, and I've experimented with this method, I want to say maybe 3 times. And what it was is I wanted to figure out how to add a hanger to these, but the hanger has to be strong. It can't just be regular sewing thread. It cannot be cotton sewing thread. It can't be a single piece of silk. You have to sort of spin them together to make them very strong, because you're trying to make these things last, and so that you're able to actually hang these on your tree like an ornament if you wanted to. You can hang them from your rear view mirror. Obviously you would have to add a piece of cording or something to make it longer. You can hang these almost anywhere. Have a hook on your desk. They could hang off of a hook that's magnetized and goes on your refrigerator. The list goes on and on. And so that was the purpose of me experimenting with this. I have done the same thing using embroidery thread. And the issue with the embroidery thread is, once again, you have to spin several pieces of it together to get a good strength. Then you have to use glue to go over the whole, like you're spinning, as well as I did that with this as well. You can even see there's a teeny tiny bit of glue right there. Because that's how you sort of keep all the threads together. And then after you have to create your Twinchie first. So with this one, this lady is actually from a clothing label. I know, you guys, look at those when you're pulling those clothes tags off. After you buy something, the cardboard tags, the paper tags, sometimes they're even cloth tags. Make sure you take a look at those and see if there's an opportunity for you to use them in your mixed media artwork, your junk journals, etc. Or even if you're a decoupager and you're like, I'm going to like decoupage this piece of furniture, you might have some cool opportunities there. And if the cardboard is thick, you simply peel back the layers and then you will get something that you can use, as a flatter lay in your artwork. So this one, I actually recovered this lady from a clothing tag. In the upper corner where you see the diamond, that is actually amethyst with some gold gilting. And that's from a piece of jewelry. That circular piece that you see below her bosom is also a piece from a costume jewelry bit. And it says Witch's Brew and some little wording there. That came from a Yankee Candle advertising mailer that we received. We actually live in New England, so we received their postcards and we received their catalog. And in there are some cool pictures that you can definitely use. So this whole bottom part from here down is it's a candle advertisement. So, use your creativity. The back, once again, I'm getting into this like vellum like paper, and it says paid on it and some other words. So obviously it's supposed to be something like an invoice. And then for this, what I used for this hanger is a black twine. And to turn it black, you can use many methods to dye it. Sometimes you can buy it in black. And like I said, you see that little white dot that's up here? That's from the glue. I have to take that off. But what I did is I cut the piece to the length I needed. I pulled out the amount of threads I thought would be appropriate and would stick in here and still allow me to easily close this case and glue it shut. And so after I inserted this, and like I said, all of the inside with the lady and all, I actually left that dry for a few hours, because that way if I had to move this around, nothing would shift. And then what I did is stuck the thread in the upper portion, as you see, looped it over, and I put my glue around the perimeter of this, and then I closed it, and it stayed. And of course, I told you guys I use binder clips in my previous video to just keep this all clamped down for 48 hours. I only did it for 24 hours this time. And what'll happen is I use a jeweler's glue to seal these, and it seals clear. So this, I can still see a teeny tiny, barely any bit of cloudiness, but by tomorrow that cloudiness will be totally gone. So I hope that this was useful for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it, you know, gives I'm going to say, I believe the purpose of me doing this, not just to document, you know, that I created these things, but also to give people different ideas that they can use in their own creation story. You know, it's too bad that more people, you know, don't share that, because I would love to share with other folks. But the thing is, this is the best way I can share. And also, like I said, look down in the description, look at the comments. There's always opportunities for you guys to own some of my artwork, and you don't have to pay for it. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And also, I simply ask that you subscribe to the channel, comment, because I love reading your comments. People will tell you that I go back and forth with. It's like we're just, like we've been friends for 85 years, and I'm not anywhere near 85 years old yet, thank kind of goodness, but I hope I get there. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Remember that your health is your wealth. Without your health, you have nothing.